Welcome back to Chop Nation. Today we're with Tomahawkchop and Eric Brunson. We're going to be talking about top three Heisman candidates you could see in New York by the end of the season, and we'll talk a little bit about some championship contenders for this season, and we'll end it with a little FSU talk about some tight end room and what's going on there. First, I want Tomahawkchop to tell us his top three. What's your top three?
Alrighty, for Heisman contenders,
Yeah.
there's a lot of talented players in the country this year. Number one, the guy who I think he's just a lot different than everybody else. He's had some bumps and bruises, but I think it's Cade Klubnik. Dabo Swinney has just done a good job of, he's a little bit stuck in his ways. He doesn't use the portal, and they had some hiccups there, but he learned from that. You saw that last year. Every year that he's played, he's grown as a quarterback. I think, and honestly, I think that those situations have made him better. And I see Cade Klubnik. That's my number one guy for the Heisman. Number two, I think is Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, you just gotta love him. He's just a good old fashioned gunslinger. Uh, he's got a rocket of an arm, and I like what he did at LSU last year. The thing is like this is a make or break season for LSU this year and Brian Kelly. So we'll see how that goes. And finally, I know this one's gonna kind of sting for FSU fans because we were very involved in that recruitment, but you got to look at what he did last season at Ohio State, and you just can't talk about Heisman and not include Jeremiah Smith in that list. He's got the size. He came out of high school looking like a grown man, and he's just got something about him. You hear a lot of coaches talk about if these players that you can just see it, and he's got it. He's got the it factor, and I'm really excited to see what he could do this year. Although I don't know who the quarterback will be. If I had to predict right now, I think it's going to be Julian Sand. But yep, those are my top three Heisman candidates this year.
Yep, I 100% agree with that list. I guess I'll do mine. My one and two, it was tough. It was between two, but I went with Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. He had a good year last year. He threw for like 2,500 passing yards last year, had 17 passing touchdowns, and he's got it all with his legs too. He makes a lot of plays with his legs, getting out of the pocket, escaping. In the SEC, putting up numbers like that, you got to be pretty good. And really, he really showed that he can compete with the best of them and do it at a high level. That's why he's at my one. My number two, I got Jeremiah Smith. He really explained it. He does have the it factor. He's everything you want in a wide receiver. And when it comes down to what he did last year and this year, the only downfall is their QB situation. I don't know who's starting there, and I don't know how good they'll be. But when you got talent like that, it's he's gonna have a good year either way. My number three, I had Cade Klubnik. Clemson QB had a great year last year. I expect him to put up good numbers this year. He's got a lot of talent around him. He threw for 3,300 passing yards last year and 33 passing touchdowns. He really can do it all, to be honest. He's got a good O line up there at Clemson too, and the defense. He's got a great defense. It's going to get him back on the field a lot. So he's going to be putting up a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns. That's my top three.
All right.
Good choices.
My top three. Number one, I got Arch Manning. He's got an elite receiver core around him. Ryan Wingo, 472 yards, two touchdowns. DeAndre Moore Jr., 456 yards, seven touchdowns. And Emmett Mosley, who had 48 catches, 528 yards, and six touchdowns at Stanford last season. Arch, he's got the size. He's got the arm strength. He can move. Um, he didn't really play much last season. He started two games with the Longhorns when Urias went down, but when you saw those two games he played, he did an elite level. So number one, I got Arch Manning. Number two, I got Cade Klubnik. I really wanted to highlight his receiver core around him, and this is an elite receiver core. You got Antonio Williams. He had a 904 yards last year, 11 touchdowns. Bryant Wesco, 41 receptions, 708 yards, and five touchdowns. TJ Moore, 45 receptions, 651 yards, and five touchdowns. And then they got a new transfer and 6'5 receiver, Tristan Smith, who had 76 receptions, 934 yards, and six touchdowns. Cade Klubnik's really the only downside he had last year was he was inconsistent those last little few games. If he can played in the playoffs at an elite level, he's gonna be a really good quarterback. But number three, I got Lenora Sellers. He had 2,500 pass yards, 18 touchdowns, and seven picks. And then he had 674 yards on the ground and 7 touchdowns. He's got strong weapons as well. Uh, he's also got he also only played in like 5 or 6 games. So I feel like those three are really great quarterbacks.
Yeah, I agree. Those both of y'all had a really good list. Pretty much the same, two players in those lists. Next, we're gonna go on to our top three championship contenders. Yeah, struggling. The top three championship contenders. We'll start off with Tomahawk Chop. What's your top
Title
three?
contenders.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had a guest appearance from my cat here, guys. But I don't. I think Dabo Swinney. I think that Clemson team. They've had their bumps and bruises, but you look at what they've been able to do on the line of scrimmage, offensive line, and you got guys like Peter Woods on the defensive line. They're just strong up front. Uh, you got a guy like Cade Klubnik. Their receiver room has grown a lot. I think they're probably my number one to win the national championship right now. Um, and I hate to say that, but I just, man, I don't see any team that's gonna, to me, like the question marks I have with LSU about their defense. They bring Blake Baker back for another year. That's my number two. I don't think that they can compete. I think you're going to have week one. You're going to have that national championship matchup. In my eyes, I think LSU's boom or bust. I think if they are what I think they could be, I think there's a chance you see them national championship. But that's my number two.
You think
And
if
then my third,
you think if they meet up twice that Clemson will get them both times?
I do. I do. Uh, just because those guys have been, I love the transfer portal, but I think there's just something about Dabo Swinney's mentality of sticking to high school and building that brotherhood and that continuity you have each year in and out. That's something that's an advantage that they have that those other teams, like, that's something we're going to worry about FSU is you have all these guys that have been come in and they've done stuff at other school, but how can they gel? And that's why I like Clemson as my number one. And then the number three spot is going to be hard for me to pick just because there's so many good teams. Uh, you have Penn State, who brings in Knowles from Ohio State. That's a big splash hire. Great coach, proven coach, but they can never win the big games. Could it be that this year this is when they turn the tide and they start winning? I don't know. You got a team like Texas that's loaded with talent every year. They've made the playoffs 2 years in a row now. But does Arch Manning, is he going to make that step? Is he going to be the quarterback that we're all projecting him to be? So that three spot's going to be hard. But if I had to choose, man, I think I'm going to go Penn State, and that's kind of a hot take. They can never win the games, but I think this is the year for them. They bring back a nice running back room. I like what they have. They're always putting out good defensive talent like Abdul Carter. Those guys are those. It feels like they are putting them out every single year. Um, so I'm probably going to go Penn State 3. I think this might be the year. But if not, I think you paint that reputation on James Franklin that he can't win the big games. I think right now they're in the perfect spot in the Big Ten. They lost Ohio State lost Will Howard. Michigan has I'm presuming to be Bryce Underwood, or it could be Mikey Keene. I like Mikey Keene too, but I just think it's the year for them in the Big Ten. And I think they're in my top three for sure.
Well, my number one, I have Clemson at number one. They're returning a lot. They like you said with Dabo, he recruits players and he keeps them. He really develops them. And it's not hard for them to gel, and he's got a lot of talent on the offense and defense. Defense, like you mentioned, Peter Woods out there. He's got some great wide receivers around him, around Cade Klubnik, and I think it's really their year. They had a great year last year, and I think they're only going to improve this year. My number two is Texas, which might be, they're projected to be up there, but all the hype around Arch, I think he's going to come through. I think he's going to have a good year. Not a year that most people think. He's not going to be in the Heisman race. He's not going to be just an outstanding QB. I think he'll be one of the QBs that when you go to play him, he's going to give you fits.
I agree.
Uh, Number three, I have Ohio State. This might be a hot take too. Coming off a championship, they're losing their quarterback, starting quarterback. You don't really know who it's going to be up there running your offense. But they do have a Heisman contender wide receiver in Jeremiah Smith, and with a player like him, he can change your team, just like that. But I think they got a lot of talent on that team too. Still, they always up there. They're always recruiting well. They're bringing in a lot of players. I think they're going to be up there in the top three and have a chance of getting the Natty, but it's going to be hard. I think Clemson's definitely going to be my one right now.
All right, my number one is also Clemson. They're number one in returning production. They're the team to beat in the ACC, and they got the seven best odds to win the college football playoffs. They return an elite defense. They return an elite receiving core, and then Cade Klubnik. It really all goes back to Cade Klubnik. If he can stay consistent all season, because there was games, he ended up with good stats and a good stat turnout, but there was there would be one game where he goes off, and the next game he's not as consistent. But if they can keep Cade Klubnik consistent, then they're going to be one of the best teams in college football. My number two is Notre Dame. They own the eighth best odds to win the college football playoffs. They made the Natty game last season. They bring in a new defensive coordinator, but I mean that defense is already elite. They had arguably the best secondary last season. They returned the running back duo and Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Prince, both of them. I think Jeremiah Love had 1,100 yards and 17 touchdowns, and Jadarian Prince had 733 yards and 7 touchdowns. And I, I feel like they're going to be a really good team, especially. I think they have a top heavy schedule, so they play a lot of good teams, which are all beatable, and then the rest of their schedule is just winnable games. And then number three, I got Penn State. They hold the second best odds to win the Big Ten and fourth best odds to win the national championship. They returned Drew Aller. I think he could be a potential Heisman contender. He threw 2,800 yards, 21 pass touchdowns, and 9 interceptions last year. They brought in a whole new wide receiver core. They had Kyron Hudson. He was at USC last year. He had 462 yards and 3 touchdowns. Devontae Ross, 76 receptions, 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns at Troy. Trevor Pena, 84 receptions, 941 yards and 9 touchdowns at Syracuse. They also returned both 1,000-yard rushers, and Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, and then they have a top 10 defense. So I feel like they're the team to beat in the Big Ten. So yeah.
I just
All right.
realized that I did it. I'm sorry. I didn't realize that I even mentioned about Drew Aller when I was talking about Penn State. Just totally forgot all about Drew Aller. I was thinking about those running backs. Sorry.
Yeah.
Before we go into the tight end, we're gonna do like we did in the last podcast. We're gonna do the chopping block segment. It's we're doing 2 minutes this time. 2 minutes of questions from I'll do me to Eric, and then however else y'all want to do it. Who wants to give questions to who? Let's see. We do 2 minutes. I'll ask Eric some questions, and you guys say just one word off the top of your head for the answer, and then we'll go on to the next question. All right.
All
Who
right.
is the best running back in the nation?
Jeremiah Love.
Who is the best offensive coordinator?
Ooh. I'm gonna go. Uh, I'm gonna go the Ohio State offensive coordinator. I forgot his name. He was a wide receiver coach last year. I forgot his name though.
All right. Who has the most pressure on them head coach wise coming into this season?
That's a toss up. I'm gonna go Mike Norvell or Billy Napier,
Who is winning the ACC this year?
Clemson.
Who is winning the Big Ten?
Penn State.
Who is your, let's see, who is the best player on Florida State's team?
I'm gonna go TC, Thomas Castellanos. I feel like he's gonna have to be that guy.
Yeah, you got to go him. Um, who is who is going to be our best running back in this running back group?
Mm. I'm gonna go Roydell. It all depends on how much playing time Usmani gets, but I'm gonna go Roydell.
Who is going to be our best defensive player?
Mm. I want to say Jeremiah Wilson, but I'm gonna go Darrell Jackson on this one.
Who is going who is the best wide receiver in the ACC?
Oh, Antonio Williams at Clemson. Yeah,
All right, that's the timer.
that's timer. Bet.
Yep. All right.
Good answers. I like the answers.
Yeah,
I
those are
like
good
the
answers. Let's see. We'll do 2 minutes. Eric, you wanna ask me questions or Michael? It don't matter.
I can ask Michael.
All right.
You got the timer?
Yeah, go.
Okay. Who do you think the best defensive coordinator is?
Ooh, that's a hard. I think Knowles at Penn State.
Okay, okay. Um, who do you think is the best wide receiver in the Big Ten?
Jeremiah Smith.
Okay. Oh, yeah, obviously. Best running back in the SEC.
In the SEC?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Uh, that's a hard one. I'm also blanking on SEC running back. Oh man. Skip it. I'll have to come back to that one.
Okay, okay. Best head coach in college football.
That's also a tough one. Best head coach in college football? The answer for a long time was Nick Saban. He's gone. Oh man. Kirby Smart. I totally forgot about Kirby Smart. I'm sorry, guys.
That's what I think. Um, who can you see on Florida State to be the dark horse on Florida State?
I think a guy that I really like who's had a lot of injuries is, and you're hearing a lot about him in camp, is Jaden Jones. I really like his upside. He's had two devastating, but you hear little chirps here and there about Jaden Jones showing up in camp, and it's not only happening in one-on-one reps; it's happening in the scrimmages too. I think at the end of the year, we might be talking about him being someone that stepped up and was a contributor.
All right, that was 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. All right, Michael, you want to ask me questions?
Yeah.
All right, let me start it. All right.
Who do you think is QB2 on Florida State's roster right now as we speak?
QB2, Kevin Sperry. I'm taking him over Brock.
All right. Who is the best wide receiver in the Big 12?
Big 12.
Mm.
I'm gonna come back to that one. I drew blank on Big 12 wide receivers.
Who do you think will get on Florida State's team? Who do you think is going to be the player that gets the most playing time as a true freshman?
Usman Chroma.
Alrighty. How many wins do you think it's going to take for Mike Norvell to keep his job safe this year?
Gotta be over 6 wins. I'm gonna go 7.
Alrighty. And who do you think will find success as a coordinator more, Gus Malzahn or Tony White in year one?
Year one, I'm gonna say Tony White.
Alrighty. Going back to just college football, who do you think is who's a sleeper team to make their conference championship? And this could be any Power Four conference. Like, who do you think's a team that you could just see taking that next step and and surprising everybody in Chubb in that conference championship game?
Could be a hot take. I'm gonna say Illinois.
I like that answer. And then who do you think is going to be the most productive wide receiver in Florida State's receiving room?
I think I gotta go Deuce Robinson.
I like that take.
Like that.
And
That was
then
2 minutes.
good. I was trying to think of another question.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, we'll go on. We'll talk about tight end room now. Just your thoughts on tight end room, Eric, or any of y'all, whoever wants to start.
Um,
Eric, you want to go?
I'll just say I want to see them be able to stretch the field. Landon Thomas, he's looking to be that number one guy. If I mean, I could also see Randy Pittman Jr. He was more productive at UCF than Landon Thomas was at Florida State. But then again, you see how we struggled offensively. So um, we return Mark Houston Douglas. But I think either Randy Pittman or Landon Thomas, if they can stretch the field and block efficiently, I feel like that can really help out our offense a lot. So
Let me ask you a question. Who do you think will have the best year, Landon Thomas or Randy Pittman?
mm, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Randy Pittman. He knows Gus Malzahn's offense more, and I feel like he'll be able to learn everything really quick and be more productive on that. So yeah.
Yeah. I really think our tight end group could be pretty good this year. We got some depth there, which is good. Bringing back Biscuit from Arizona State, and Landon Thomas, obviously the young guy. He's going to get a lot of playing time this year. You're really going to see what he's all about at an early part of his career. I think Randy Pittman can help us with experience in that tight end room. He brings in experience from UCF, and he's played a lot. Obviously he put up some good numbers last year too, and I think he's going to be a big piece. It's really up to blocking. Blocking's got to be good. I think it's all obviously it's got to get better from last year, but I think we're going to have a better year blocking wise up front with some of those guys in the tight end room, and I think they'll have a big year. You got something, Michael?
I do. I think this might be a hot take. I think that Florida State has the potential to have one of the best tight end rooms in college football. You look at a guy like Randy Pittman, who's 240 pounds, very familiar with Gus Malzahn's offense. In a bad year for UCF, he was ultra productive. I think he had like 450 receiving yards, a lot of targets, a lot of receptions. And then you just see like kind of he's just a good old fashioned football player. That's something that Gus Malzahn mentioned. And, you know, he's effective as a blocker. He's effective as a pass catcher. So he's kind of to me, I think just a prototypical, just elite college tight end. And, also if you watch some of the film of Gus Malzahn, he's not afraid to line him up on the line of scrimmage and get kind of tricky with some trick plays and, kind of the pop plays with the tight end. And, I think he's going to be, and Jeff Cameron, if you guys listen to Jeff Cameron, he's also very high on Randy Pittman, and it's for good reason. He's productive. He knows the offense, and he's just an athlete. He was committed to us before he went to UCF, and I've kind of followed him, and I really liked what he did as a high schooler in the Panhandle too. I really liked what he did. I think he's going to be your best tight end, but also you can't count on a guy like Landon Thomas. 6'4", 234, and to me he's more of a receiver than a blocking tight end, but hey, he's not afraid to get right on your face and put you to the ground. And he plays with the physicality, and you saw flashes of that last year. I think he was one of your highlights on offense last year. And that's really hard to say considering we went 2-10 when we were god awful. It was an eyesore to watch, literally. It was
Yeah.
torture every Saturday watching that team, but he made flashes, he made plays. He did it against good talent too. So I really like that 1-2 punch of Randy Pittman and Landon Thomas. Then you got guys like Amari Williams. I think a lot of people are kind of forgetting about because he's kind of practicing both sides of the ball. I think he's gonna make some steps during fall camp. You kind of hear his name on both sides of the ball. I just like what he is as an athlete, and I think he's good to have in your tight end room. Got true freshman Chase Lofton. You look at the size there and look what he was able to do in high school. It's like, man, you can't look at those guys and not get excited. Then you bring back a guy like Biscuit. At FSU, he was just, man, he was big, he's fast, he made plays. Didn't do anything at Arizona State, unfortunately. He went over there with Dilly, but now that he's back, he shed some weight. He looks good. And, you go back and see in that 23 team, he made some plays. When they called his number, he made something happen. But, I just like this as a whole. I think it has a lot of potential. It's got a lot of size. And I think with what we're trying to do with, you know, run the ball first and then, spread the field and have those deep shots. I think this is the group that you want to do it with. And I really don't see how when it's all said and done, I can't see how this isn't a top 5 tight end group in the country. I just see that as, I don't know. I'm just really, really
Yeah, I
bullish
agree.
on that group.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I certainly had them in top 10 in the nation for sure. I think they're gonna make some noise. Just how depth it is what gets me. We're very depth there. Just a bunch of guys that you can throw out there, and teams you really can't, you can't game plan for that many players at that position.
Oh, I
But
do want to throw in there too. Brian Estes. I don't know if y'all know this, but he's been taking
yep,
some reps at tight end. He's a
yeah, I
big
Yep.
saw
dude.
that.
I don't think he's going to be your receiver, but I think if you're just trying to run that ball, that's a good guy to have in your tight end room.
Hmm.
Yeah. Y'all got any questions? Any more questions?
Oh, Michael, what are your expectations for Florida State next season?
For this coming up
But
season or the
yeah, this
season
coming up
after?
season. This coming up season.
This this season, like I touched on this earlier. You really don't know what you have. You got
Yeah.
guys like Deuce Robinson, who they performed at USC, but that was a deep room with some wide receivers, so it's kind of hard to get touches there. But
Yeah.
you see the flashes. Then you got
Hmm.
a guy like Squirrel White who has kind of dealt with his injuries, but had 800 receiving yards at Tennessee,
Hmm.
and he's
Mhm.
he's making plays against Alabama and all the heavy hitters in the SEC.
Hmm.
Um, then you got a guy like Javon Boggs on offense who has been the talk of the town.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking that 15 is going to be a pro. So you
Hmm.
just look at those guys and you just look at what you didn't have last year. You look at what you had on the wide receiving core last year. You can't name one guy who was productive.
Yeah.
No.
Can't name one. I think I think wide receiver one was supposed to be Malik Benson, and he did nothing in Alabama. So I
Yeah.
think you automatically on offense have elevated your floor. And then you got a guy like Usmani Chroma. If you saw the clips that came out today, he made Blake Nicholson look like a baby. Threw him to the
Hmm.
ground.
Yeah, he did. He did.
And he's just physical. He's physical. He runs violent. And you got Thomas Castellanos, which I'm very high on more than
Yeah.
some other people.
Hmm.
Uh, People are forgetting that he had 3,000 total yards.
Hmm. He did.
Yeah.
3,000 total yards at Boston College. And then you look at this is a stat too that I read. He had 77 first down runs.
By himself too. Yeah. So
77 runs for first
I
down
know
by
yeah.
it.
himself.
I know at one point he was leading the nation in first down runs.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's.
And you look at that and it's just like, wow. And then you
I
go, Bill
think.
O'Brien is
No. No. Keep going. Keep going.
no, I'm gonna let you go. I want to hear your
No.
thoughts.
I think people are forgetting that he was playing a lead at Boston College, and they're trying to push the narrative that he was kicked off the team or he left or whatever, and benched by. And I mean, he still did better in the little games he played than the quarterback that came in. So I feel like you can't really use that as a, oh, he got kicked off the team because of his attitude or whatever. I think I think he's going to be a really good quarterback for us this year, especially with his legs and his ability to uh, stretch the field out. So yeah.
I
Yep.
agree.
And I think Bill O'Brien is he's a mobile quarterback killer. He
Hmm.
told Jalen Milrow, which he wasn't the greatest he wasn't the greatest quarterback in the world, but he was able to go in Alabama and compete.
Yeah.
Hmm.
They won games. They went like if we would have went 9-4 last year, we would have been happy after all we lost. So he
Yeah.
was able to do that at Alabama, and he just kills mobile quarterbacks. And he's always been kind of a butt. I
Yeah.
think he comes off as kind of abrasive as a coach. And I think this is just, he knows Gus Malzahn's system. This is a Gus Malzahn friendly system. I really like what we could be on offense. I think
Yeah.
you ought, and not even mentioning Herb Hand on the offensive line, you're automatically,
Oh yeah.
if we could just be average this year, you're looking at of improvement. And then
Yeah.
defensively, I like Tony White. He's at a top 25 defense everywhere he's ever been.
Hmm.
He's at Syracuse with a top 25 defense. I just think you're at FSU. You have better players. You bring James Williams, who had one of the highest pass rush percentages in college football last year. He's put on some weight. I think he's going to be bigger than a third down defensive end.
Hmm.
I just think we're going to be a lot better. I think this is kind of a do or die year for us. I think if it's anything less than 7 wins, Mike Norvell has got to be fired. That's just my.
100%.
I
Yeah, I
like
agree.
Mike. I think he has a good attitude, but you just got to win at least 7 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who would
At
you like to
FSU, you
see?
gotta.
Who would you like to see if we end up parting ways with Mike Norvell?
There's a guy that I really like, and he just had an interview. Not really an interview, but he just said something the other day about coaching in college. John Gruden.
Hmm. Oh,
Feeling
I love
nice.
him.
Could you
I love
imagine a
him.
good elite quarterback in this offense
Oh
with John
yeah.
Gruden? I mean, man, that just gets you excited.
Yeah.
Also, if we're talking
Love to
about
see
just
it.
college, I'd like maybe to get like an elite offensive coordinator, maybe a guy like Will
Hmm.
Stein. I think that's not
Yeah.
it's not a flashy hire, but I know they recruit good out there at Oregon, and he's had some pretty good offenses there. And then
Yep.
maybe we talk about bringing old Jimbo back.
I would love to see it. I
Yeah,
would love to see it.
yeah, that'd be some.
He could recruit.
You can.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I
It's about
think.
the Jimmies and Joes in college, not about the X's and O's.
Yep.
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 Yeah, I think Jimbo coming back would that would be very interesting, especially for a lot of FSU fans. I don't know how their feelings are with them, but yeah, I think we covered everything. I think it was a great podcast. We'll be back on it probably tomorrow if Eric's open. But we'll be back with y'all. It was a great podcast. See y'all later, Top Nation.